Would you like to have a lot more happiness in your life? Would you like to find a happiness that lasts and doesn't leave you? If so, you have come to the right place. My name is T. Harv Eker, and welcome to The Shocking Truth About Happiness. You are about to learn 7 critical principles that will not only change your level of happiness, but change your entire life. Each of these principles is essentially on its own, but they also build on each other. So if you really want to be happy and stay happy, I encourage you to stay to the end. I truly believe that the information in this class can change your life. It sure did mine. Okay, so why am I teaching this? Well, for those of you who know my story, you're going to recall that I struggled financially for many years. Not only was I broke, but I wasn't overly happy with the rest of my life either. Sure, I had my moments of fun and enjoyment, and when good things happened, I felt pretty good. But most of the rest of the time, I'd feel worried, frustrated, somewhat irritated, to tell you the truth. I was constantly upset about one thing or another. I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I sure wasn't as happy as I wanted to be. Can any of you relate? Thank goodness that my financial situation changed and one of my new business ventures became highly successful. Within 2.5 years, I was a millionaire. That was the good news. The not so good news, and what surprised me, was that even though my lifelong dream of becoming a millionaire had finally come true, my overall level of happiness didn't improve all that much. It was still up and down and inconsistent at best. Thankfully, my next business, well, that also went extremely well. I ended up owning one of the largest personal success training companies in the entire world. I then wrote a book and it became a New York Times #1 bestseller. It was an exciting time and I thought I was fairly happy, but again, it was up and down and always inconsistent depending on what was going on. If something good happened, I was happy for a short while. If something bad happened, I wasn't that happy. You know what I mean, right? So, although business was booming, the pressure to keep it all going was enormous. And one morning, I kind of looked and surveyed my to-do list, and as usual, it was just 3.5 miles long, and every one of the things seemed to be needed to be done right away. At that point in time, I just had it. I took a nice deep breath, and I made a life-altering decision. I said to myself, screw it. I've got the money. I don't need this stress. I'm gonna sell my business. I'm gonna retire, or at least semi-retire, and do whatever the frick I wanna do whenever I feel like doing it. You know what? I did. Within a short time, I sold the business and semi-retired. And what happened? Yes, I was rich. And yes, I was free. But unfortunately, the inner peace and happiness I was searching for, well, that wasn't at the end of this rainbow either. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Here I was with a life and a lifestyle most people would give their left and right and both arms for, and I still didn't have the one thing I really wanted. The one thing I was doing everything else for. I didn't feel fully happy. In talking with people, I found that I wasn't alone, and that being happy and staying happy seemed to be a big problem for millions and even billions of other people. And so I decided to tackle this topic head on and make it my next project. I would devote myself to discovering how to really be happy, truly happy, consistently happy. And so for the next 5 years, I experimented on myself with every method, every strategy, and every teaching out there. And would you like to know what I found out? I discovered that the way I and almost all of us have been taught to find happiness doesn't work, at least not for long. And it gets worse. Instead of being taught to be happy, We have actually been taught, programmed, conditioned to be unhappy. That's right, unhappy. In short, our concepts and beliefs around happiness and our strategies for attaining happiness, they're seriously flawed. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you or I are never happy. In fact, if you're like most people, you might consider yourself pretty happy, at least some of the time. But just the fact that you're even interested in this subject tells us both that you are still searching for more, true or true. And the reality is that the majority of people spend most of their time, most of their energy, basically most of their lives doing things to try and be happy, or at least happier, yes or yes. And sure, they'll have glimpses of happiness, and sure, they'll have some times when they feel totally thrilled, but most of the time they have this kind of, I guess you call it an empty feeling, or constantly feel anxious, or that their life consists of one problem after the next, and on the happiness merry-go-round goes. And so here's a really important but crazy question. What if you didn't have to do anything, nothing else, to be fully 100% happy? Would that be a blessing? I hope you said yes. Okay, my friends, here's your blessing. There is nothing you have to do to be happy. But, and it's a very big but, there is something you have to not do. Again, not do. Okay, Harv, what are you talking about? All right, are you ready to be shocked? Because I'm about to say something that might freak you out and send alarm bells blasting off in your mind and your head. All right, here goes. Please listen closely, because this is actually the main premise of this training. Are you ready? Here it is. You are already happy until you make yourself unhappy. Let me repeat that. You are already happy until you make yourself unhappy. But Harv, if I'm already happy, how come I don't feel happy? I just told you, because you make yourself unhappy. Of course, you do it unintentionally, but the result is still the same. Bottom line, what I'm saying is that if you didn't make yourself unhappy, you would be happy. And how you make yourself unhappy is what this training is all about, because that's all it has to be about. You know, you've tried and tried all your life to be happy and stay happy. How's it working so far? For most of us, maybe okay, but not great. So I'm suggesting you stop doing that. Do you understand the difference here? I hope so. We have spent our entire lives focusing on the wrong end of the stick, focusing on trying to be happy. That doesn't work. It never has, and it never will. If you want to be happy, don't focus on trying to be happy. Instead, focus on not making yourself unhappy. What's left will be happy, good or good. Okay, so what's our next step here? We need to learn the principles, or what I call precepts, of happiness that actually work in the real world. Think of these precepts as tools. Some of them may be brand new to you, and that's a good thing. And some of them may be reminders to you, and that's also a good thing. Yes or yes? Either way, I urge you to give this training your full and undivided attention, because I am not exaggerating when I say the next hour or so that you spend learning this could end up being one of the most important hours of your entire life. Again, it certainly was for me. Now, before we go on, I want to clarify that this information is not intended to replace any therapy or medication that you might be on. It's not intended to treat depression or any other issues related to chemical imbalances in the brain or in the body. And it's certainly not meant to try and make you happy in times of real tragedy in your life or the lives of those people that you care about. Nobody is suggesting you be happy when someone you care about dies or gets sick or you go bankrupt or anything else that's truly, truly major. And this is known as the big stuff. I formally call it's the big stuff, good name, right? And thankfully, though, for most of us, these truly traumatic experiences don't make up the majority of our lives. So what does this training deal with? It deals with the other 95%. The other 95% of things that bother us and take our happiness away, formerly known as the little stuff that we turn into big stuff. Do you know what I mean? Now, having said that, I can also tell you that if you practice these principles on the little stuff and you get good at using them, they could be very, very helpful if and when the big stuff ever occurs. Make sense? Okay, so if you're ready, let me introduce you to the precepts of true happiness. And you know what? They're all unique, but at the same time, they all intersect and intertwine. What do? They intertwine with each other. So even though it might seem that one is similar to another, rest assured, there is a critical point of difference that we need to emphasize. Why? Simple. So you can remember it and use it in your life, good or good. All right, it's time to learn the precepts of true happiness. Now, the first one is an expansion of our basic premise that we talked about earlier. Precept number 1, happiness is natural. I'll say it again. Happiness is natural. Have you ever heard the saying, happiness is within? We've all heard that, right? But what the heck does that mean? And where exactly do I find it? Like, is it in my arm? Is it in my leg? Maybe it's in my left ear here. So where is this? And these were questions that I had for a lot of my life until I began to have a new understanding as to who I really am and actually who we all are. Let me explain. Whether you realize it or not, you are a twin. That's right. You're a twin. And if you're like most people, you never knew that. And I don't mean a twin with another person. I mean a twin with yourself. The fact is, there are two of us, or should I say, two parts of us, or so it seems. We have a true self. What self? True self, otherwise known as a higher self. And we also have a false self, otherwise known as our lower self or our conditioned self. And one of the most important things you can ever learn in your whole life is the difference. What's the word? The difference between the two. All right. Your true self is your original self. It's who you came into the world as. Your false self or conditioned self is who you learned to be. As a baby, we basically arrive as an empty cup. We're open and loving and peaceful. Let's even say happy. And please don't confuse a newborn baby crying with being unhappy. Crying is actually a necessary function for survival in those first few minutes. Okay, so here we are, our true and original self. We're peaceful, we're happy, and then we begin the process of learning how to live and fit into this world. We call this learning process conditioning or programming. Okay, so how did we learn? Primarily by what we heard, what we saw, and what we experienced. And from who did we learn? You know, parents for sure, guardians, rest of our family, friends, teachers, religious leaders, the media, and basically every other influential element with which we came into contact. True or true? And we get all this information, and then we store it in the file cabinet called our mind. And this information then becomes our operating manual, right, for how to think and behave and basically survive in this world. And I just used a super important word here. Can you guess what it was? The word is survive. Great, thank you. Survive. Bottom line, your conditioned self or mind is first and foremost a survival mechanism. Its primary function in life is not to make you happy or not to make you successful. Its job is protection. What's its job? Protection, thank you. It's your bodyguard. And its objective is simple. Keep you alive. Not thrive, alive. That's it. The mind is like the sentry on the ship. Let me ask you a question. What's the sentry's job? Well, of course, it's to be the lookout, to warn of danger. Yes or yes? That's why it's constantly scanning for what's wrong or what could go wrong in any situation. Because its primary role is protection, it is based in fear. Have you ever heard the saying that when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail? When you're a conditioned mind, a sentry, a bodyguard, everything looks like a threat. In other words, a problem. Notice I didn't say everything was a problem. I said to that part of you, everything looks like a problem. And you wonder why you often don't feel fully happy? No need to wonder. Have you ever been around a really negative person and you're in a pretty good mood and then you start talking with them and they bring up all their problems and they start bitching and complaining, and a few minutes later you feel like you want to disappear, or better yet, make them disappear? Yes or yes? Well, there's no difference between you listening to and having a conversation with this negative person and with your bodyguard, your own conditioned mind. Neither of them are looking for the positive in life. They're only focused on what's wrong, or what I said earlier, what could go wrong in every situation. That's their job, yes or yes. Okay, Harv, I got that. I got it. But so where the heck's my other part of myself? The other twin, the happy twin. Where do I find him or her? Good question. And I've got some excellent news for you. You don't have to go anywhere or do anything to find your happy self. In fact, it's just the opposite. You have to not do. Let me repeat that. Not do anything. There's quite a profound demonstration that I do when I teach this concept live. Now, this is critical to your learning, so please pay extra close attention. I divide the people in the room in half, and I instruct one half of the room to hum peacefully and quietly and to keep going until I ask that group to stop. And then I instruct the other half of the room to yell and scream and babble and chatter really loud, and again to stop when I ask. Then I have them both begin at exactly the same time. You can imagine the noise. It's crazy. And of course, all you can hear is the yelling and screaming and babbling and chatter and crazy going on here. And then I point to that super loud group and I give them the signal to stop. And when they stop, who do you think you can hear for the very first time? That's right. For the very first time, you can hear the quiet but beautiful and peaceful humming of the other group. Couldn't hear him before. In this demonstration, guess which one was the conditioned, fear-based, unhappy self? Right, the screaming loud group. And guess which one was the true and natural happy self? That's right, the peaceful humming group. And what's important here is to realize that both, what's the word? Both parts of you are always there. This is essential. So let me repeat it. Both parts of you are always present. You just can't hear or connect with one, the happy one, because the other one, the unhappy you, is constantly babbling and chattering and screaming so freaking loud. Can you relate to that? In short, the true self, the peaceful self, the happy self is always with you. And that's why The ultimate secret of all secrets is that you're already happy until you, as in the other you, makes you unhappy. There's a Zen saying that happiness and peace are what's left over when you stop doing everything else. This means that when you stop the negative and fear-based thoughts, beliefs, and self-talk, what remains is a sense of peace and happiness. Again, that higher part of you, the happy you, is always there, ready and waiting to be experienced. Okay, so how do you experience it? Well, just like in our demonstration. By quieting the fear-based mind, or at least not buying into everything it says, which of course leads to a feeling that we call unhappiness. So here's a pop quiz. Ready? Okay, get your pencils and paper out. No, you don't actually have to do that. It's pop quiz. Here we go. Question: who is naturally happy? Answer: you are. Good. Question: which part of you is naturally happy? Answer: your true self. Good. Question: who is making you unhappy? Answer: you are. Good. Question: which part of you is making you unhappy? Answer: your conditioned, fear-based self. My friends, I hope you fully understand this, because if you do, your life will never be the same. So let's do a declaration to ingrain this precept deep into our consciousness. Remember, words are energy, and energy has power. Energy has what? Power. So what I want you to do is I want you to please put your hand on your heart so you can feel your own vibration in your body and repeat this out loud. And yes, I'm asking you to actually and physically do this in the real world, okay? I promise that if you actually do it instead of just watch it or listen to it, the effect of this training will quadruple in value. Are you ready? Here we go. Ready? Happiness is natural. I am already happy until I make myself unhappy. Let's do it together now and do it again. Happiness is natural. I am already happy until I make myself unhappy. Now, give yourself a high five and say, I choose to be happy right now. Good work. Okay, precept number 2. Happiness must be unconditional. What's the word? Unconditional. I want you to imagine for a moment that I gave you a tennis ball and I asked you to throw it and hit a target. And say the target was my hand, okay? And let's say the target was very close to you, only a few feet away. Well, chances are you could hit that target 9 or even 10 times out of 10. Yes or yes. It's easy. But let's just change the game just a little bit. Let's say I start moving the target very quickly, side to side, up and down, zigzagging, circling one way and then another. And then I started changing the target itself. And I said, no, it's not my hand. You got to actually go for this. Was that this? It's not that. This it was the real target. That wasn't it. This is the real target. And then I said, no. It wasn't that. It was that. You were supposed to get it into here. If you got into here, that'd be the target. You would win. But no. And I kept on changing it. And then I asked you to hit that. And my guess is that most people would be lucky to now hit the target 1 out of 10 times. And most people would hit it 9 out of 10 times. True or true? Well, yeah, sure, Harv. You made it almost impossible to hit the target. You kept moving it and changing it. Yes, I did. And that's exactly what happens when you attach your happiness to a moving and ever-changing target. And yet, that's what most people do. They make their happiness conditional. What's the word? Conditional and dependent on external targets, otherwise known as situations, circumstances, and other people that are always moving and changing. Yes or yes. Have you ever heard anyone, or maybe even yourself, say, if this happens, then I'll be really happy. Or if that happened, I'd be a lot happier. Or if this wasn't happening, I could finally be happy. Question: what's the common word here? The word is if. What's the word? If. Thank you. This is really important. All ifs are conditions. Say that with me, please. All ifs are conditions. And as you've probably noticed, conditions in life are always changing, true or true. So if you try and derive your happiness from situations and circumstances that are always changing, here's the question: what else has to change? Your happiness. Thank you. Most people believe that happiness is a result. What's the word? Result. That it's a byproduct of something else. And in our society, that is basically what we are taught. My friends, this concept is flawed. Because if happiness is a result of something else, then by default, if that something else never occurs or disappears or changes, guess what? So does your happiness, true or true. And that's exactly what we don't want. Therefore, we can't have our happiness be at the mercy of certain circumstances and situations, which we will call conditions, that have to be in place. Does that make sense to you? Bottom line, if you want to be a lot happier a lot more of the time, your happiness must be unconditional. What's it have to be? Unconditional. Thank you. Now, earlier we mentioned the word if. If is one of the most dangerous words in the happiness language. The same goes for if's cousin, then. If then is a hidden happiness trap that most people fall into. If then automatically means there is a condition. What's the word? A condition involved. For example, if my partner would only communicate better, then I'd be really happy. What's the problem? The problem is this situation is not fully in your control. It's primarily up to your partner, not you. And so why would you want to base your happiness on that? Okay, so let's go to another popular refrain. If I become financially successful, then I'm really going to be happy. So, okay, here's a logistics question. What if you don't become super successful for 5 or 10 or even 20 years? Are you going to postpone your entire life of happiness until you've achieved your financial goal? Ridiculous, right? I mean, who would do that? Well, 90% of people in our society, that's who. And dare I say, maybe even you might have fallen into this trap. Maybe when it comes to money, or maybe when it comes to another if-then proposition. Make sense? And I know it seems perfectly normal to think in terms of if-then. But remember, the word normal just means it's popular. It doesn't mean it works. So let me make this perfectly clear. The conditions that you have set up in order for you to be fully happy are the only things stopping you from being fully happy right now. Is that crazy or is that crazy? The exact things you believe you need in order to be happy are actually the exact things that keep you from being happy. Why? Because you have created a conscious or unconscious rule that you won't be fully happy unless that condition occurs. And that could take a long time or never, true or true. And even if it does happen, how long do you think you'll be happy before you set your sights on something else that has to happen for you to be happy? Some other condition. Can you see that you are playing a no-win game here? Okay, so got it. So why do we do this? Because that's what we've been conditioned to do. We have been taught that to be happy, you need to have certain things and circumstances and situations in place. Yes or yes? And that's why we literally spend our entire lives trying to put those things into place. The right amount of money, the right business, the right job, the right relationship, the right kids, the right body, the right house, the right car, the right vacation, the right friends, the right spiritual connection, and on and on and on and on it goes. And when it all finally comes together, then I will be 100% happy. My friends, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but at some point you have to recognize that true happiness, what kind of happiness? True happiness does not come from any situation or any circumstance that is in or not in your life. As we discovered earlier, happiness is a natural part of you. You are already happy until you make yourself unhappy. And one of the ways you make yourself unhappy is by creating conditions around your happiness. And those conditions are the obstacles, the hurdles that prevent you from experiencing your happiness right now. When? Now. Can you see that? Can you see that anything you have decided needs to be in place for you to be fully happy? If it's not in place, is what is preventing you from being happy? You know, as you might have heard me teach before, the first step to change is the A word. Anybody know what it is? Awareness. What's the word? Awareness. Good. So let's make this personal. Here's a question for you. What are your conditions? What life situations and circumstances and relationships have you determined need to be in place in order for you to be fully 100% happy? What have they been up until now? Do you have a lot of conditions that need to be met before you can be fully 100% happy? Or very few, or better yet, none? Do you have huge, hard to achieve long-term conditions that need to be met before you can be fully 100% happy? Or ones that are easy to achieve? Or better yet, none? You know, think carefully, because your answer could determine your happiness for the rest of your life. I'm going to give you a hint here. Are you ready? If you make the game easy to win, there's a good chance you're going to win. True or true? So here's a crazy notion. What if, okay, it's crazy, I've got it, but what if there was absolutely nothing you needed to be, do, or have other than true basic survival elements like food, water, shelter to be really, truly 100% happy? Wouldn't that make it easier to win the game? Duh, I think so. So what to do? Simple. Drop your conditions. Drop your conditions. Remember, those conditions did not come from a burning bush or a tablet being passed down to you by Moses. They're only thoughts and ideas, and you took them on or you made them up. And if you took them on or you made them up, you can untake them or unmake them up. True or true? So, how about we make winning the game easy? Well, we make the happiness game easy. Is that okay for you? If you think you need to be rich to be really happy, just let that thought go. It's a thought. If you think you need to achieve something great to be really happy, just let that thought go. It's a thought. If you think you need to be in a certain relationship to be really happy, just let that thought go. It's a thought. If you think you need to look a certain way to be really happy, just let that thought go. It's only a thought. If you think you need to fit in with a certain crowd to be really happy, just let that thought go. It's only a thought. If you think you need a certain car or house or certain clothes, and that's going to make you happier, just, what are you going to do? Let those thoughts go. They're only thoughts. Now, here's an interesting question. If you were to let all these thoughts of what you need to be fully happy right now go, then what would you need to be fully happy? Here's another game changer. The answer is nothing. In short, nothing. Nothing in your life has to change for you to be fully 100% happy right now. Let me repeat that. Nothing in your life has to change for you to be fully happy right now. I know I'm going against some sacred cow beliefs here, but what choice do you have? If you believe you need certain things to be happy, and those things don't materialize or don't happen just the way you want them, then you're screwed. You can never be happy. You set the game up to lose and you lost. What a surprise! Bottom line, no conditions in your life will make you happy. They may give you a different feeling, but it's not the experience of true and lasting happiness that you've been searching for. That happiness must be unconditional. Yes or yes or yes. Okay, let's do the declaration together. Please put your hand on your heart so you can feel the vibration of these words and repeat the following phrase out loud. Are you ready? Here we go. I release all conditions to my happiness. Again, with me, please. I release all conditions to my happiness. Now give yourself a high five and say, I choose to be happy right now. Good work. Now, if you recall, earlier we mentioned that these precepts blend together and they intertwine. So let's take our last precept, that happiness must be unconditional, to the next level. Ready for that? Okay, here we go. Precept number 3. Happiness must be independent. So you might be saying, okay, Harv, I understand that outside situations and circumstances are always changing and out of my control. And therefore, if I base my happiness on them and they never occur or they change or they end, so does my happiness. I get that. Okay, so what I'm getting is that, it's not about the outer material world. It's all about the inner world, right? Well, not so fast. Pretty well everyone who teaches happiness says that if certain inner states and feelings are in place, you will be happy. Feelings and states such as having fun, enjoyment, pleasure, a sense of freedom, feeling like you have meaning and fulfillment in your life, feeling productive, feeling proud of yourself, feeling a sense of accomplishment, feeling successful, and of course, the feelings of loving and being loved. In short, these feelings lead to happiness. Yes or yes? No. No, they don't. Please don't get me wrong. I believe all the feelings we just mentioned are wonderful to have in your life, and I definitely want them in my life. What I don't agree with, however, is the idea that any of them actually lead to or make you happy, and definitely not that any of them are happiness. To explain this further, is it okay if I tell you a story? In fact, this story is actually the reason this happiness program came into being in the first place. All right, so here we go. So I'm walking on the beach with my daughter, Maddie. As we're talking, she says to me, Dad, I don't know if I'm as happy as I used to be. And her statement, well, it kind of stunned me because I always thought my daughter was super happy. So I asked why she felt that way. And she said, well, whenever I go out with my friends, they're always laughing and I'm not always laughing. And then out of the blue, something popped out of my mouth that not only surprised her, it surprised me as well. And I say popped out because it felt like a message or something that had come right through me. I can't explain it, but I can tell you that this wisdom was well beyond the scope of my own knowledge. I can tell you that for sure. Would you like to know what it said? Or I said. I said, Maddie, laughing is laughing, and happy is happy, and they are not the same. We both stopped and looked at each other because neither of us had ever heard this concept before. And so I went on. I said, for that matter, pleasure is pleasure, and happy is happy, and they're not the same. Fun is fun, and happy is happy, and they're not the same. Wow, she said, I always thought they were the same. So did I answered, until now. And in that moment, we both learned an important lesson. And it's one of the reasons I decided to teach this subject. Because for the most part, we're actually taught the opposite of this principle. We are taught to believe that if we want to be happy, we should have more fun, yes? More laughter, yes? More pleasure, yes? More freedom, more meaning, more fulfillment, more adventure, more excitement, more inner peace, more productivity, more feeling successful, more a feeling of accomplishment, more feeling of love. We need to give. We need to find our purpose. We need to be more spiritual. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. True or true? And so what do we naturally do? We strive for these beautiful inner states with the hopes that one of them will give us the answer. If I just find my purpose, I'll be happy. If I lighten up and have more fun and play more, I'll be happy. If I feel successful and accomplished, I'll be happy. But have you noticed? It doesn't work. You find meaning and it feels good, so you believe you're happy. But you don't feel that meaning all the time, do you? And so then you're not happy. And so you have fun. And so you believe you're happy. But it's hard to have fun 24/7, plus it's tiring. And so then at some point, you're not having fun. And so now you're not happy? You have this blissful moment of love with your soulmate. And so you believe you're happy. But 2 hours later, you're not feeling that ecstasy anymore. And so now you're not happy? Do you see the problem here? By linking, what's the word linking? What's the word linking? Connecting happiness with all these other states of being. You have locked yourself in the front seat of the happiness roller coaster. Happy, not happy. Happy, not happy. Happy, not happy. Up, down, high, low, yes, no. Is that what you want your happiness to be like? I hope not. But that's what it has to be like if, as we discussed earlier, you attach it to anything that changes or ends or is in any way temporary. Does that make sense to you? My friends, we have all been sold a bill of goods. We've been taught a strategy that actually makes us unhappy because it forces us to continue our never-ending fruitless search for happiness. Oh, maybe a bit more of this or a little less of that. Or how about a combination? Yeah, that's it. If I just have the right combination of pleasure and fun and meaning and adventure and success and freedom, and if my life is in perfect balance, then I'll finally be happy. Can you relate to any of this? Okay, so I'm going to spell it out in no uncertain terms so you really get this. I'm going to ask you to repeat each of these with me. I'm not asking you to believe them. Not for now, okay? For now, I'm just asking you to repeat them. We're going to get to the believing part later, okay? Are you ready to get your mind blown? Okay. Put your hand on your heart so you can feel your own vibration and repeat the following statements out loud. Agreed? I really want you to do this. Makes a big difference. I wouldn't ask you if it didn't make a huge difference in how deep this goes for you. Okay, here we go. Fun is fun, happy is happy, and they're not the same. Please repeat that. Let's go. Fun is fun, happy is happy, and they're not the same. Good job. Okay, now let's do laughter. Ready? Laughter is laughter, happy is happy, and they're not the same. Good work. Okay, now pleasure. Pleasure is pleasure, happy is happy, and they're not the same. Good. Now let's do freedom. Freedom is freedom, happy is happy, and they're not the same. Great. Now purpose. Purpose is purpose, happy is happy, and they're not the same. And the same goes for all the other states: meaning, fulfillment, adventure, excitement, productive, achievement, success, recognition, pride, kindness, and of course, we have to do love. Love is love, happy is happy, and they're not the same. So give yourself a high five and say, I got that. Good work. And the great news about all of this is that now that we have detached, delinked, unhooked these other states of being and feeling from our happiness, we can be happy with or without them. What a relief. We don't need any of those feelings to be happy anymore, good or good. Take a nice deep breath and let it out and go, yeah, you don't need to be having fun to be happy. Duh. All right. In short, true happiness is a state of being that is different and independent from any and all other states of being and any and all other feelings. It is not a byproduct of them. It is not a result of them. It is not because of them. True happiness is pure. It stands on its own and is not linked, attached, or connected to anything else. So let me summarize this loud and clear. True happiness is an independent state of being. It is not dependent on any other feeling. You do not have to have fun, pleasure, enjoyment, excitement, achievement, productivity, meaning, purpose, love, or any other feeling to be happy. Isn't that great news? It gets better. Because now, instead of trying to attain these other feelings as a means to an end, being happy as your end, right? Hoping that they're going to make you happy or happier, you can just go directly to the end. What's that? Fully experiencing your true and natural happiness. The happiness that is already in you and resides in your true self. The happiness you will naturally experience when you stop making yourself unhappy. And one of the ways we make ourselves unhappy is by attaching our happiness to any inner or outer conditions. True or true or true. Okay, time for the declaration. Here we go. Put your hand on your heart. Repeat the following out loud with me, please. Happiness is independent from any other state or feeling. Let's do that again. Happiness is independent from any other state or feeling. Now give yourself a high five and say, I choose to be happy right now. Great work, everybody. Okay, precept number 4. Happiness can only exist right now. In one of our previous precepts, we covered if then. In this precept, we're going to cover when. Have you ever thought or said or heard someone say something like, I'll really be happy when this happens or when that happens? For example, when I get a promotion, when I start my own business, when the kids move out, once I graduate. I'll really be happy when I get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or when I get married, or then for some it's when I get unmarried, right? I'll be happy. I'll be a lot happier when the weekend comes, when I retire, when I lose this weight, when I become financially free, when we have world peace, etc., 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 etc. In other words, do you know people, or maybe even yourself, who have postponed being fully happy or even being happier for another time? My guess is that most of you can relate, yes or yes. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do a little experiment. Are you ready? Okay, get ready for this. This is an experiment. Here we go. I'm actually asking you to do this for real, physically, right? It's important. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to nod your head up and down, like you're saying yes. Go ahead and do that now. Nod your head up and down. Good. Do that. You're great. Good job. Now I want you to nod your head up and down tomorrow. Go ahead and do that, please. Nod your head up and down tomorrow. Are you having a little challenge with this? I would think so. And the reason you're having a challenge is because it's impossible. It's impossible because tomorrow doesn't actually exist in the real world. Tomorrow only exists in your imagination, in your head. True or true? Okay, let's try the opposite. I want you to nod your head, but this time I want you to nod it yesterday. Go ahead and do that now, please. Nod your head yesterday. Uh-oh. Are you having the same problem as before? How come? Because yesterday doesn't exist in the real world anymore. Yesterday only exists as a memory in your head, true or true. Bottom line, the only time that is actually real in your entire life is right now. Everything else is either imagination or a memory, both of which only exist in your mind. And therefore, since now is the only time that is real, if you want real happiness, then the only time you can experience that real happiness is when? Right now. Yes or yes? In short, if you are not happy right now, you cannot be happy because there's only right now. You cannot be happy in the future unless what you want is imaginary happiness. You cannot be happy in the past unless what you want is the memory of happiness. Does this make sense to you? Meanwhile, how many people are constantly waiting for some time in the future to be happy or at least happier? Is it possible, maybe, that you might be one of those people, at least sometimes? In my experience, almost everyone makes this big mistake. And it's a mistake because you cannot be happy in the future. Please say this out loud. I can only be happy right now. Good. It's vital. It's vital you get this in your body, mind, and spirit. So I'm going to ask you to say it again. Let's do it again. Ready? I can only be happy right now. Good work. It makes sense, doesn't it? But for the most part, our entire culture revolves around being happy in the future. And when you stop and think about it, it's kind of insane, isn't it? I mean, how do you be happy in the future? You couldn't even nod your head in the future, and you want to base your entire life of happiness on a future that doesn't exist anywhere but inside your head? Okay, Harv, I get it. If I want to be happy, it can only be now. But I also want to be happy in the future. I want to make sure I'm happy in the future. I mean, I spend a lot of time and energy on that. I'm working and planning and setting up my life so that I can be happier in the future than I am now. That's normal. Especially when I'm older. And then I can retire and have no more worries or cares and be free to do whatever I want and be really, really happy. You and 7 billion other people just like you. You want to ensure you're happy and hopefully even more happy in the future. Yes, I get it. It makes perfect sense. So would you like to know the secret? What's the word? Secret. To making absolutely sure you are totally happy in the future? Here it is. It's another game changer, so you might want to listen very, very closely. Ready? If you want to be happy in the future, you have to be happy now. Why? Because we are creatures of what? Habit. Thank you. Have you ever heard that practice makes perfect? Sure, everybody's heard that. But guess what? It's complete BS. Practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent. Practice makes what? Permanent. Thank you. And the more unhappy you are now, the more that way of being ingrains in you. And the better you get at it. Try as you might want to not do that. And again, try as you might want to be truly happy in the future, you won't be able to. Why? Because you're not good at it. To the contrary, you're an expert at unhappiness. And so unhappy you will be forever. And it doesn't matter that later on you have a lot more money or a nicer house or wonderful grandkids or more free time to do whatever you want. Of course, your mind will have you believe that when all this great stuff happens, you're going to change. But it's a lie. It's a lie. Again, you are a creature of habit. And your habit comes from repetition. And so regardless of your future circumstances, your mind will somehow, some way, make sure you are unhappy. What's the word? Unhappy. Because you are wired now to be unhappy. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but someone has to warn you of this before it's too late. True or true? Okay, Harv, you are scaring the crap out of me. So what's the answer here? Are you ready to hear one of the most important things you could ever learn in your whole life? I hope so. Here it is. If you want to be happy later, practice happiness now. Say that with me, please. And let's make it personal by using I, okay? I for yourself instead of you. Here we go. If I want to be happy later, I have to practice being happy right now. Excellent. And not only does happiness only exist in the now, but it better exist in the now if you want to be happy in the future. Remember, practice makes permanent. Practice makes what? Permanent. If you practice being unhappy now, you can virtually guarantee you'll be unhappy later. If you practice bitching and complaining now, you can guarantee you'll be bitching and complaining later. If you practice negativity now, you can guarantee you'll be negative later. Regardless, I repeat, regardless of your circumstances in life. Because it's not about the circumstances, it's about the way you think, and the way you think is habitual. Is this making sense? I sure hope so. It was a life changer for me, and I hope it is for you. Okay, so let's conclude this precept with a quote from this crazy guy named T. Harv Eker. Here it is. If you cannot find happiness now, you will never find happiness because it's always now. Let's repeat that. If you cannot find happiness now, you will never find happiness because it's always now. In short, when it comes to happiness, it's now or never. Okay, let's do the declaration. We actually have two of them this time for you. Put your hand on your heart and repeat the following out loud. Here we go. Number one, I can only be happy right now. Say it again. Here we go. I can only be happy right now. And let's do the second one. Here we go. Ready? If I want to be happy in the future, I have to practice being happy now. Repeat that with me, please. If I want to be happy in the future, I have to practice being happy now. Now give yourself a high five and say, I choose to be happy right now. Fantastic. Okay, so how are you doing? Are you learning a lot? Are you being reminded of a lot? Are you excited for the next precept? Great, then let's get to it. Precept number 5. Happiness must be clearly defined. If you ask 100 people what exactly happiness is, you will get 100 different answers. If you take, say, 10 cultures and you ask what happiness is, you'll get 10 different answers. It seems like everyone wants to be happy, but no one can agree on what exactly that means, yes or yes. Based on our previous precepts, we've already addressed what happiness is not. So would you agree it might be helpful to determine what happiness actually is? And why is that so important? So you can hit the target. I mean, how can you hit a target if you don't know exactly what you're looking for? Here's the easy answer: you can't. So we need to give our target of happiness some kind of definition. Then at least we'll know what we're going for, and just as importantly, we'll know when we get there. Make sense? Okay, so where are we going to find this definition? Well, obviously, it's in the happiness manual you were given when you were born. I mean, you remember that big, heavy, hardcover book they gave you when you were like 5 minutes old, right? I mean, think back, you were crying and they shoved this big book in your face and they said, study this thing and you'll be happy for the rest of your life. You got that book, didn't you? What? No? They ran out of stock? Oh, what a pity. You must be the only one that didn't get it. What? You don't know anyone who got the happiness manual when they were born? How strange. Something so important and you got no instructions? Of course I'm kidding, but the point is pretty clear. There was no book and there is no book. And right now it seems that everyone has a different idea of what happiness is. That means it's subjective. It also means that if we want to have a clear definition for happiness, we will have to create it for ourselves. Make sense? And not based on whether it's true or false, or right or wrong either, but whether or not it's helpful, usable, and doable. Agreed? Okay. Now, as you might have guessed, I have a kind of suggestion for our definition of happiness. And it's a very strong suggestion. Why? Because it's the only thing I've tried on myself and my students that actually works in the real world. Are you ready? I invite you to try on this word. Here it goes. Content. Content, as in contentment. Okay, so what is content? Well, according to the dictionary, the definition of the word content includes 1, being in a state of peaceful happiness. 2, satisfied with a certain level of achievement, good fortune, and not wishing for more. And 3, accepting as adequate despite wanting more or better. Okay, so how do you feel when you are content? Well, according to the dictionary, you feel like you have what you need. You feel satisfied. And because you feel satisfied, and this is key, you're not searching for something else right now. Okay, so now let's go to the other side of the equation. How do we feel discontent? We feel discontent when we are dissatisfied and feel like we don't have what we need. And so we believe we have to be searching for something else right now. Yes or yes? Social philosopher Eric Hoffer said something that was quite profound. He said this: the search for happiness is the chief cause of unhappiness. This is huge. So let's repeat this together. Ready? The search for happiness is the chief cause of unhappiness. Thank you. And why is that? Because if you believe you have to search for something, it means you believe you don't have it or enough of it right now. True or true? Which means you are coming from a place of scarcity and lack, which are both based in what? Fear. True or true? You may have never realized this before, but the act of searching inherently puts you into a state of fear, whether it's conscious to you or unconscious. And fear produces the feeling called unhappiness. The irony is that if you weren't always searching for more happiness, maybe you could actually be happy right now. Good or good? Okay, so how do we feel content? Again, according to the dictionary, we feel content if we allow ourselves to be satisfied with what is. Now, here's the big challenge that arises for most Westerners and achievers and type A's and most success-driven people. They look me straight in the eye and they say, "Harv, are you nuts? If I'm satisfied with what is right now, I will never achieve my goals in the future." And you know what? I understand. It's normal to feel this way because we have been conditioned to believe that the word satisfied is a sin to success. And that being satisfied is the enemy of growth and improvement in any and all parts of our lives. True or true? And to make matters worse, much of our society has been conditioned to believe that the only way to succeed is to be dissatisfied with what we've got and where we are at right now. The philosophy is that if you are content with where you are, what you have, and who you are right now, you will never get any better and you will never get any more. We operate on the strategy that it is dissatisfaction that drives us and motivates us to do anything. We believe that if we are dissatisfied now, it will lead to more satisfaction later. Yes or yes? No. No, no. I'm going to say something that could again alter your life right here. This might surprise the heck out of you. Are you ready? Dissatisfaction does not lead to satisfaction. It leads to more dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction is not what motivates you. It is what demotivates you. Dissatisfaction does not lead to more happiness, it leads to less happiness. Why? Again, because we are creatures of habit. And as we've already learned, practice makes permanent. If we practice dissatisfaction for any reason, that will become our way of being. And we will always continue to feel dissatisfied, regardless of the situations and the circumstances. But Harv, you don't understand. I want to be content. I want to be happy, but I don't have the life that I want right now. I want you to consider this proposition. What if you could be fully 100% satisfied, 100% content right now, and become even more successful? What if you could be 100% content right now and still go for more and better in any and every part of your life? In other words, what if you could have both? Why can't we be fully content with where we are on the path in this very moment and appreciate whatever it is that we've got, and also continue to move towards our goal? Where is the 11th commandment that states, "Thou shalt not be happy as long as thou hast not reached the very top yet"? We've all heard that the secret to happy life is enjoy the journey along the way, haven't we? We all heard that. Just enjoy the journey along the way. Well, so how do we do that? By practicing dissatisfaction? By practicing discontentment? By practicing fear, scarcity, lack? By practicing being unhappy? That makes no sense whatsoever. Got it? You want to be happy? Practice, remember, practice makes permanent. Practice being content with what you have, where you are, and who you are right now. Remember, you are the one who decides how to view your life and everything that's in it and everything not in it. Meaning you are the one who decides to be content or discontent and therefore happy or unhappy. Yes or yes. You decide that. Okay, let's do the declaration. Ready? Here we go. I am willing to be satisfied and fully content in this moment. Again, I am willing to be satisfied and fully content in this moment. Now give yourself a high five and say, I choose to be happy right now. Great job. Precept number 6. Happiness is a choice. Let's start this next precept with a story, okay? A grandfather is walking in the woods with his grandson. They talk about all kinds of interesting animals. The grandfather asks the grandson if he knows which are the 2 most important animals in our life. The grandson doesn't know. The grandfather explains, it's the 2 wolves in our mind. We have an evil wolf, one who is constantly spewing anger and greed and fear. And we have a good wolf, one who only knows love, compassion, and joy. And these 2 wolves are constantly fighting. The grandson asks, which one wins? To which the grandfather replies, the one you keep feeding. My friends, the greatest battle you will ever have is the battle between your fear-based, conditioned, unhappy self and your true and higher happy self. That's why this precept is hugely important if you want to have consistent, consistent and ongoing happiness in your life. Okay, so what exactly do we mean by happiness is a choice? Well, let's go back to our initial premise. You are already happy until you make yourself what? Unhappy. Good, thank you. And so, the big question is, how do we make ourselves unhappy? That, my friends, is the $1 million question and the key to your happiness. But before we answer that question, we need to back up just for a moment here because I want to introduce you to, or actually reintroduce some of you to something called the process of manifestation. It's a formula for how things are created in our lives. Okay. The process of manifestation states that thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, and actions lead to results. Again, thoughts to feelings, feelings to actions, actions to what? Results. Thank you. For now, let's just focus on the first two, thoughts and feelings. And just for simplicity's sake, let's just say that happiness is a feeling, okay? Just for now. So if happiness is a feeling, what creates that feeling? Well, according to the process of manifestation, what creates any feeling? Your thoughts. Thank you. Good. And if unhappiness is a feeling, what creates that feeling? Your thoughts. Thank you. Good. And so when it comes to happiness, the only choice that really matters is the choice of your thoughts, how you think. Yes or yes or yes. It's essential you understand that it's not about manipulating, changing, or improving your situation in life. It's not about what you're doing and what you're not doing. It's not about who you're with and not with. It's not about what you get and what you don't get. It's about how you think. What's the word? Think about all these things that will determine whether you are happy or unhappy. Are you with me? Now, a lot of you might be asking, okay, so how do I think in a way that will make me happy? And the answer is, you don't. You don't. At this stage of the game, we don't have to concern ourselves with that. Remember, you're already happy until you make yourself unhappy. So the critical question is, how do you make yourself unhappy? And the answer is by thinking thoughts that lead to unhappiness. Duh. Thoughts that make you feel anxious, worried, uneasy, fearful, doubtful, stressed, tense, pressured, frustrated, angry, sad, disappointed, jealous, guilty, embarrassed, basically crappy. Can anybody relate to this? Okay? As per the process of manifestation, whenever you experience any of those feelings, you can rest assured that a specific thought created that feeling. In short, don't think thoughts that create these negative feelings and you won't be unhappy. Harv, are you kidding? You got to be kidding me, right? You actually believe I have control about what I think about? Yes, because you do. You just may not be practiced at it and therefore not proficient at it right now. But yes, you have control over your thoughts. But Harv, you don't know my mind. It never shuts up. My thoughts bubble up constantly. I can't help it, but I have to admit that a lot of those thoughts are negative and fear-based, and they make me angry and upset. Hallelujah. Join the club. We're all in the same boat. Our minds are fear-based and therefore negative and don't come with an off switch. So it's not about shutting off your thoughts. For the most part, you can't. And a lot of the time, you don't even have a choice as to what kind of thoughts bubble up in your consciousness. Why? Because they often come from the unconscious. But, and this is critical, listen closely. You do have a choice as to which of those thoughts you, here's the word, entertain. What's the word? Entertain. Thank you. Let me put it this way. Just because someone shows up uninvited to your party, it doesn't mean you have to ask them to come in, feed them, give them your energy and your undivided attention, does it? Instead, you can politely thank them for coming and then show them the way out. Or in this case, in the case of your thoughts, you can simply let them go and move on. That's why the most important skill you can ever develop in your whole life is your ability to manage your own mind and the thoughts that come through it. The rule is simple. Either you manage your mind or your mind manages you. And as I think you already know, that is not a very attractive proposition, true or true. So how exactly do you manage your mind and your thoughts? Well, there's several Very, very powerful techniques that we teach in our advanced program if you're interested in going to the next level. But I want to make sure that you have a starting point. So let's go through one simple strategy together right now. Is that okay? In fact, let me give you an example of how this works in the real world, at least my real world. Is that okay? All right. So when I was writing this program, I created an intention to complete one section per day. That was what my intention was, right? So here I am, I'm at my computer and I'm writing about happiness, and I've been sitting there for about an hour and I feel the urge to pee. Okay. And so I stand up to go to the bathroom. And as soon as I do, the voice starts screaming in my head, "Hey, what are you doing? You don't have time for this. You might not finish this section today. And if you don't, you'll fall behind and then you'll feel pressured and you have to rush and you'll be all stressed out. Sit down and get back to work." Okay, so first, did you notice that my mind is warning me to get back to work so I don't feel stressed and pressured later on? And meanwhile, what's it trying to make me feel right now? Correct. It's making me feel stressed and pressured. Yeah, from it, not what I'm doing, from it. Has that ever happened to you? So right now in this situation, are the thoughts that I'm having in this example making me feel good or bad? Bad. So are they supportive or not supportive to my happiness? Unsupportive. So what do? Chop off my head, right? Well, sometimes I might feel like that, but hopefully there's another better solution, good or good. So first, it's essential that we recognize who's talking to me here. Who is that voice in my head? It's my survival-based, protection-based, fear-based mind. It's my bodyguard doing its job far too well, trying to protect me even when there's no real danger. Kind of like an overworried mother. Yes or yes? So, question. How do you handle an overworried mother? Well, hopefully you wouldn't tell her to buzz off, right? Because, you could, but that would just piss her off and make her even more defensive. True or true? Remember, she's only there, she's there to protect you. So first, you would acknowledge her for caring about you. That makes her feel like you're listening, and that's what she wants, to be heard. True or true? Next, you would what? Reassure her. You basically let her know everything's going to be okay. And so it's the same when you're dealing with your mind. You can acknowledge your mind simply by saying, "Thank you for sharing," or "Thank you for your concern." And then you can reassure your mind by saying something like, "Don't worry, it'll all work out," or "It's okay, we got this," or whatever else you might say to a worried mom or a concerned friend to calm them down. Then you return to the present moment and focus your attention only on what you're doing right now. And in my case, going to the bathroom and taking a well-deserved pee. So there you have it. An easy formula to start with. ARR. Number 1, acknowledge. Number 2, reassure. Number 3, return to the present. Good or good? And that is how you choose to be happy. By managing your mind and not allowing your unhappy, primarily fear-based thoughts to run and ruin your life. True or true? Of course, it's not always easy, but I assure you, if you continue to practice, you can get good at noticing and then releasing thoughts that lead to unhappiness. And when you do, guess what will automatically be there? Happiness. Okay, let's do the declaration. Are you ready? Hand on your heart. Here we go. Happiness is a choice. I choose to be happy. Again, happiness is a choice. I choose to be happy. Now give yourself a high five and say, "I choose to be happy right now." Great work. Okay, precept number 7. Happiness must be the priority. Is it okay if I share another story with you? It's about a young student who goes to a Zen master and asks what it would take to truly be enlightened. The Zen master brings the student to his bathtub. He fills it with water. He instructs the student to kneel down and look at the water very, very, very closely. And once the student has his face almost touching the water, the Zen master forces his head under and holds him there and holds him there and holds him there and holds him there, and he finally lets him go. The student comes up, gasping for air. He's upset and he yells at the Zen master, "Why did you do that? I almost died." The Zen master calmly replies, "When you want enlightenment as much as you wanted air, you'll become enlightened." My friends, when you want happiness as much as you want air, you will be happy. And that means you have to want it more than anything else, meaning happiness must be your priority. And why does it have to be your priority? Because to be happy, we have to master our mind and keep letting those unhappy thoughts go. And wouldn't you agree that could be quite a challenge? That's certainly my experience. It's not always easily, especially when the shit hits the fan and you're really upset. True or true? It's interesting that when I say happiness must be your priority, a lot of people have a negative reaction to that. And that's because I'm usually stepping on a few toes, or in this case, a few minds. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who have beliefs around happiness that are in fact detrimental to being happy. I call these, well, for lack of a better name, happiness-killing beliefs. Okay. And there's several of them. And we work with a lot of them in the advanced program, but for now, I definitely want to go over a couple of them with you right now so you can get an idea of a couple of more popular ones. The first is this: it's not right for me to be happy when others are suffering and unhappy. You know, in my experience, there are millions of people around the world that have this belief. And as much as I admire their compassion, let's examine this belief a little closer to determine if it actually makes any sense. Okay? So forgive me, but I didn't realize there was a world limit on happiness. Is there only so much to go around? My friends, do you really, really believe that someone else will be happier if you're not? Like, here you go, take my share of happiness, enjoy it, I'll just spend my life suffering. Spoken like a true martyr, commendable, but totally irrational and impractical. And one more thing, do you really think that you being unhappy makes anyone else happy? Hey, I hate to break it to you, but actually the opposite is true. Einstein proved that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it is always, always, always transferred. Meaning your unhappiness infects, what's the word? Infects everyone around you and makes them unhappy too. So for those of you who bought into the idea that it's not right to be happy while others are not, maybe it's time to let go of this guilt trip and realize what you're doing to yourself and everyone else around you. Bottom line, this not enough to go around belief is based in lack and scarcity, which are forms of what? Fear. And let me remind you, fear is the opposite, and you could even say enemy of happiness. True or true? Okay, let's examine another happiness-killing belief. And I'm being extra adamant. Why? Because I want you to get it. I'm not here to like, oh, it's okay, and it's okay. Someone has to sometimes like, boom, got to get hit with a hammer to go, what am I been doing? And I'm hoping that whatever it is, it's going to work for you. All I care about is your real life and what happens later in your real life. Yes or yes? Okay, next happiness-killing belief. I don't want to be happy all the time. Believe it or not, this is one of the most popular objections to what I'm teaching. It's amazing how many people tell me, I don't want to be happy all the time. I want to experience the full spectrum of life, the ups and the downs, all the emotions, fear and anger and sadness and resentment and guilt and disappointment. That's real life, and I want to feel it all. All I can say is that if your intention is to feel it all, trust me, you will. Even if you are a superstar, the best in the world, number one, no, numero uno, a superstar being happy, I guarantee you will not feel happy all the time. You will have more than enough anger and guilt and fear and sadness and ups and downs in your life. You don't have to be concerned about losing it because you won't. Yeesh. So let me ask you, do you know anybody who might be prone to either of these happiness killing beliefs that we just discussed? Maybe someone who looks just like you? Nah, I didn't think so. Either way, if you want to be happy, happiness must be your priority. So now, you might ask, okay, priority over what? Oh, priority over being unhappy. Come on, Harv, that's pretty obvious. I mean, who wouldn't want to be happy over being unhappy? The answer is most people, and maybe even you. Not sure? Let's see how this plays out in the real world. In the real world, in our everyday life, it seems that most people give up their inner peace and happiness for just about anything. Let me give you an example. We're at the grocery store checkout counter. We're feeling peaceful, content, and happy. All of a sudden, someone cuts in line right in front of us. Boom! Okay? What happens? Well, most of us start fuming inside, and our protective ego mind goes ballistic. What a jerk! Should I tell him where to go? Should I say nothing? This is wrong. I would never do that. Who do they think they are? And on and on and on and on. Can anyone relate? Meanwhile, in this scenario, are you happy? Heck no, you're not happy. You're pissed off and you have every right to be. Yes or yes? My friends, this is exactly what I'm talking about. In this situation, you willingly traded your happiness for anger. Boom, traded them. You made a choice to give up your happiness for righteousness, meaning being right and angry was your priority over being happy. Can you see that? Now, of course, you might say, yeah, but they cut in line. They were rude. It's not fair. I was here first. And that may be so. But this is where you have to choose your priority. This is where you have to decide what is more important to you. Being right and getting upset, or staying happy in this moment. Yes, we can all agree that you're right, but that's not the point. The point is that you're unhappy right now, yes or yes? And why are you unhappy? Because this person cut in line, right? No, no, and no. And this is the critical distinction. You are not unhappy because this person cut in line. You are unhappy because of your thoughts about this person cutting in line. Do you see the difference? The fact is, you are never upset because of the situation. Your upset is always because of your thoughts about the situation. And why is that important? Because often you can't change the situation, but you can always change your thoughts about the situation. And that puts you in full control of your happiness, good or good. Okay, so is there another alternative here? Yes. You could have made happiness your priority, and in this case, thought to yourself, oh well, that person must be in a hurry, and just let it go. Not for their sake, but for yours, for your happiness' sake. What? But Harv, I'm not a wimp. I'm not going to let people take advantage of me. Okay, fine. Then maybe you don't just let it go. Maybe you say, excuse me, I'm sure you didn't realize that I was ahead of you in line. And if you don't mind, I'll just take my place back. Boom, thank you. And you move in front of them. No fuss, no muss, staying perfectly calm and happy with no upset and no negative energy. But Harv, come on, let's get real here. When someone screws you or things don't go your way, it's only normal to get upset. Really? Where in life's rule book does it say that? Sorry. Silly me, I forgot. It's rule number 457-1, where it states, if you don't get what you want, freak out! No, really, where did you get the idea that getting upset was the only way to react if things aren't going your way? Sure, for most people, it's normal, but maybe that's why most people aren't very happy. Regardless, how's that working for you so far? Let me remind you that when you are angry, when you are upset, when you are irritated, when you are agitated, which by the way are all expressions of fear, you are not happy. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Harv, I only got upset for a minute or two. It's not like I was upset about this grocery line incident all day long. What's the big deal? Here's the big deal. And it's something we repeat in all of our programs. And yes, it's another life changer. So please let this sink in. How you do anything is how you do everything. Let's repeat that. How you do anything is how you do everything. Meaning, if you are the type of person who will get upset over this, you are also the type of person that will get upset over a lot of things, as well as a lot of nothings, if you know what I mean. And when you add up all of those things, it starts to become a big part of your day and exponentially a big part of your life. Let me paraphrase Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said this, for every minute you are upset, you lose 60 seconds of happiness. Ralphie was right. It's simple arithmetic. People who are angry and upset a lot are not happy a lot. People who don't get angry and upset a lot are happy a lot. Bottom line, if you want to spend more time being happy in your life, you need to spend less time being angry and upset in your life. Does that make sense? And don't tell me you can't do that. I guarantee if I put you in a situation where you would normally get upset, but I gave you $1 million, if you didn't get upset this one time, you would simply refuse to get upset. True or true? It wouldn't be worth it, right? So for $1 million, you would control yourself and let the situation go. Why? Because $1 million is a lot more important to you than getting angry and upset, of course. And that's why happiness must be your priority. It has to be worth the same to you as $1 million. It has to be as important to you as air was to that Zen student. It has to be your priority. And so let's rephrase Emerson's quote and say, for every minute you don't get upset, you gain 60 seconds of happiness. Yes or yes or yes. Okay, let's do the declaration. There's 2 of them. Are you ready? Number 1, hand on your heart, let's go. Happiness is my priority. Let's hear you again. Happiness is my priority. And number 2, I refuse to let anything, anyone, and especially my own mind take me out of my happiness. Here we go. I refuse to let anything, anyone, and especially my own mind take me out of my happiness. Now, give yourself a high five and say, I choose to be happy right now. Awesome. Well, there you have it. Happiness precepts that will change your life if, I repeat, if you use them. Not think about them, but use them. Now, do you recall at the beginning of this class, I asked you if you wanted to find a happiness that lasts and doesn't leave you? Well, I hope that you now realize that happiness doesn't leave you, you leave it. So, are you ready for some good news? Now that you understand that true happiness is ever present within you and is located in your true and higher self, you don't need to waste all your time and energy looking for it in all the wrong places. The fact is, there's nothing to look for because you don't find true happiness, you connect to it. Let me say that again. You don't find true happiness, you connect to it. How? By living in your true self. When you live in your true self, you are happy because your true self is always happy, always peaceful, always joyful, always loving, and always powerful. If you live in your true self, all of those attributes, well, they become yours, good or good. But I don't think I have to tell you that living in your true self consistently and constantly is easy, is it? It's not. And our ego mind, our conditioned mind is strong. It's very, very, very strong. And you know what? It pretends it's fighting for your survival, but it's actually fighting for its own survival. It constantly wants to rob you of your happiness and break your connection to your true self and to your heart. So why? So it can control you. And that means you are prone to live your life with anger and guilt and sadness and disappointment and frustrations and confusions and doubts and upset and worries and all other forms of, get ready for the word, fear. Meaning you never come close to living up to your full potential in terms of happiness, love, or even success. And you know what? It's a drag. It's a drag, isn't it? And it's a drag, and it's what most people call a normal life. But here's the thing. It doesn't have to be this way. My friends, there is a way to live that is totally different than how most people live. A life of true happiness, true joy, true inner peace, true love, and true inner power. I know this to be true for myself, and it's incredible to live in this state. Now, I can't and I won't say that I live there every minute of every day, but for the most part, yes. Now, not before, now. Before, my life was ruled by conditioned ego, fear-based self. I didn't like it because, to be honest, when I was like that, I didn't really like me. Can you relate to that? But unlike most people, I was not willing to live the rest of my one life that way. I also wasn't willing to infect, what's the word? Infect everyone else around me, especially the people I cared about, and most importantly, my kids, who were just babies at the time. So I did the necessary work. I had to learn, what's the word? Learn how to master my fear-based mind. Learn how to connect with my true self and learn how to stay there so I could be happy. And that's how most people who attain this higher level of life do it. They learn. They learn from masters who have come before them and found true peace, true joy, true happiness, and then as part of their life purpose, passed this knowledge on to others. There are actual methods, strategies, techniques, principles, and rules for enlightenment. Now, please don't let that word scare you. It just means exactly what it says, enlighten, to make light. And in this case, learning to live from the light energy versus the dark energy, knowing that we have both inside of ourselves. Make sense? And so now you have a starting point, the precepts that you just learned. And I hope that you agree that they're very valuable. But my friends, when it comes to inner peace and happiness, we've just scratched the surface here. There's so much more to learn. For me and for many others, it's our life's work, but it's worth it. It's so worth it. I mean, this is your one and only life, yes or yes. You do want to have the best life possible, don't you? You do want to grow into the best person you can possibly be, don't you? I would hope so. If you're listening to this, if you're watching this, then I believe you're that kind of person. Bottom line, if you learn and ingrain these advanced methods and principles, you will be 10 times happier than you are right now, and virtually nothing, what's the word? Nothing will be able to take you out of your happiness, your peace, and your contentment. You will be rock solid, good or good or good. And it is from this special place that I created the most life-changing program I have ever written. It's called Mastering Happiness, Mastering Life. How to create what you want and be happy and peaceful along the way. Exciting, yes? You know, it's actually 2 courses in one. Why 2? Because bottom line, these are the 2 things most people really want in their lives. First, we all want to be happy, true. But in addition to that, most of us also want to have money, success, achievements, great relationships, great health, and the lifestyle that we desire, true. And why not? As we said, you only go around once. And even if you believe in reincarnation, you're not going to remember it. So for all intents and purposes, this is it. And so I ask you, why not live the absolute best life possible and not only be incredibly happy as your base? Remember what I just said, happy as your solid base, but also live in a beautiful home and maybe even have a wonderful vacation home, or if you're like me, 2 or 3 of them. Why not go on first-class trips and stay in 5-star hotels and be able to take the people that you care about with you? Why not eat in the best restaurants wherever you are, and why not have a beautiful car? And for those of you who have kids, wouldn't you want to send them to the best schools and colleges in the country? Of course, any parent would if they could, and that's just for starters. Maybe you want to attract the right people into your life. Maybe you want to create a best-selling book or song. Maybe you want to create a super fit and healthy body for yourself, or anything else you'd want to manifest into your life, or for that matter, even out of your life. Take out of your life. That makes sense. Again, I just want to be clear. Let me make sure you understand this, okay? None of these things are going to make you happy. They're not going to make you happy. We already know that now. But they are wonderful accoutrements and add-ons that make your journey through life an even more magnificent experience. True. The problem is that none of these things are just going to fall on your head. You have to actually create them and know how to do that. So how do you manifest what you want in the real world? And most importantly, how do you do it with happiness and ease instead of stress and struggle? And that's a big challenge, right? It's a big challenge, because even if you're on track to create something or accomplish something or be successful at money or business or your career or in school or any performance or even any sport that you play, for most people, the process of becoming successful and really great at what you're doing often comes with a lot of pressure, frustration, overwhelm, indecision, doubt, worry, and upset when things go wrong, as they often and usually do. So it's great to achieve something awesome in the end, but at what price? And for most people, the price is their happiness along the way. I know, because as I said, that was my life early on. I was doing well, but with all kinds of stress and struggle and pressure until I was blessed to come across this advanced knowledge. So again, that's why I created this course. So is it okay if I tell you just a little bit about it so you can decide if it's right for you? And at the same time, I'm going to teach you several additional principles for both happiness and manifestation. Good or good? And one more thing. You should know this information totally changed my life. And I fervently believe it will also change yours. And that's why it is personally important to me that you consider taking this program. And so when I get near the end, I'm going to do something extreme to make sure every one of you can get it. So stay with me, continue to learn, and get ready for a great surprise. Good or good? Now, when I say that I wrote this course, I have to qualify that and tell you a story that rocked my world, and it might rock your world too. Are you ready? So as usual, when I was going to write, I would bring my computer out onto my deck. At the time, I was living in Vancouver, and we had a stunning view of the ocean. I know that it was exactly 9 a.m. When I went outside, and I remember snickering to myself, wow, it's 9 o'clock. How corporate of me. Anyways, I sat down and typed in the objective for this course into the computer. And it said, how to manifest what you want and be happy and peaceful all along the way. And I wrote that down. And, I looked up and I remember looking up and gazing out and thinking to myself, wow, look how many boats there are in the water today. And out of nowhere, a sure, confident, but quiet voice comes through my head and says, those aren't boats, and that's not water. Write that down. And so I did. And from that moment on, this voice kept talking and I kept writing. And it kept talking and I kept writing without thinking and without stopping. I began to get a bit chilly, so I decided to get a sweatshirt. I went into the house thinking it might be maybe, 10:30-ish, something like that. And I noticed that the clock in the microwave said 5:15. And I thought, that's odd. And I looked at the oven clock and it said 5:15 as well. And I thought, maybe the power went out last night and I never noticed it. I went into the bedroom, I got my sweatshirt, I looked at my watch, which was on the night table. Lo and behold, it was 5:15. And it struck me that I had actually been writing for over 8 hours straight without stopping and, more importantly, without thinking. I printed it out. It was about 40 pages long. My wife at the time was in the kitchen and saw me holding the pages. She said, "You were out there forever. What did you write?" I didn't even know if what I wrote was comprehensible, but I started reading it out loud. And after a couple of pages, she said, "Quit fooling around with me. Who wrote that?" And I heard myself say something that sounded very strange. Would you like to know what it was? I said, "I don't know who wrote that. I don't know any of this stuff. It's way beyond me. It just came through me." And I realized for the first time in my life that I had actually channeled this information. From where, I don't know, but it's like I got handed a step-by-step instruction manual for how the universe works in terms of creating the life you want. And the coolest thing is that extremely complex concepts were given to me in such simple, practical, street smart language that I and literally anyone could understand them. I read it again and again and again. And each time I was overcome with appreciation. And I knew deep in my heart that this was gifted to me, and that I had to pass it along to others. And so I did. And I kept it pure. And when I taught the program live in a seminar form, instead of running around the stage like I normally do like a madman when I'm teaching, I just sat in a chair and I read those original pages, word for word for word. What I can tell you is that every student who was there was blown away. And every single person came up to me and said this was the most profound information they'd heard in their entire lives, some with tears in their eyes. And so now it's my honor to be able to share this experience with you in this program, Good or Good. And so here's just a small sampling of what you're going to learn. As I mentioned, it's two. How many? 2 courses in one, so it has 2 parts. Part 1 is about maintaining your inner peace and happiness regardless of anything, good or good. So earlier we learned that happiness is a natural part of your true self, yes or yes. The problem is how to get there, how to stay there, and most importantly, how to come back. What's the words? Come back to your true self when the ego mind takes over. So one of the most critical things you're going to learn is a simple but powerful 4-step technique to return to your true self when you leave it, which for most of us is pretty often, yes or yes. Believe it or not, the whole technique takes less than 5 seconds and you're back, good or good. Along the same lines, one of the most popular questions I get from people is, what do I do when the shit hits the fan in the outside world? When there's chaos in my life, when the people around me are negative? Here's what you do. You go to your inner sanctuary. In the Mastering Happiness, Mastering Life program, you'll learn exactly where that sanctuary is and how to access it to protect you and weather any storm. And the best part is when you come out of your sanctuary, you're a new person. And here's the magic. When you come out of your sanctuary, not only are you a new person, but there's a good chance the situation around you will be new as well. Amazing how that works, isn't it? Next, do you ever feel frustrated? Ever feel a bit confused, maybe indecisive? Do you ever doubt yourself or others? Do you ever worry? Do you ruminate about stuff that happen again and again and again? None of these things feel very good, do they? But did you know these are all different names for the exact same thing? With the Mastering Happiness, Mastering Life program, you'll not only recognize what they are, but more importantly, learn how to dissipate these feelings almost instantly. Good or good? Next, I want to teach or remind you of a principle that is critical to your happiness. Are you ready? Here it is. All pain comes from resistance to what is. Repeat that with me, please. All pain comes from resistance to what is. Buddha and other enlightened masters taught us that the answer to resistance is, does anybody know? What's the word? Starts with an A. That's right, acceptance. What's the word? Acceptance. And yes, the principle of acceptance is incredibly important. And you know what? It's the mainstay. It's a big mainstay of all personal development. But you know what? What I channeled gave me a different principle around this. It's the next level. And it's 10 times more powerful than acceptance. I've never heard it taught in any schools, any books, or any other courses. And when you learn it, you're going to be blown away. And if you're at all like me, you're going to use this principle at least 10 times a day for as long as you live. And if you do, I promise you, your life will be insanely amazing. And again, I didn't come up with this. It came through me, and it will change your life, good or good. Also, as we learned, your own mind can be your worst enemy, true or true. We've talked about some strategies to calm your mind, but in the Mastering Happiness, Mastering Life program, you will learn several more advanced ones, including one of my favorites. It's using something called anchored mottos. Anchored mottos. These are specific words you say to your mind when it's giving you grief. And the reason it's so effective is because these words are tailored specifically for you and work on your specific mind. They may not work on someone else's mind, but they are tailored to you and work on your mind, good or good. Also, one of the most important secrets to being happy and peaceful is aligning with what the universe wants for you. I know, I realize, okay, I get it, that this sounds a little bit foo-foo. But if you do that, your life will become very easy. If you fight it, if you fight the universe, your life will always be hard. So, how do you know exactly what the universe wants for you? Well, the universe makes it incredibly obvious. Yet 95% of people don't know what to look for, and so they miss it. When you hear this taught in the course, it's going to resonate deeply within you. And there's a good chance you're never going to live your life the same way again. And I am not exaggerating. That's exactly what happened for me. Good or good. Okay, here's a biggie. Short and sweet. You ready? You're going to learn how to stop struggling. You're going to learn how to stop struggling. You're going to learn what struggle actually is, where you got it, why you do it. And most importantly, you'll learn how to let go of it and instead do everything with a sense of ease and joy. Good or good. Next, you're not going to believe this, but in this course, you're going to learn something that most people would pay $1 million or virtually all the money that they have for. I'm not going to say much about it. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not overblowing it. Are you ready? By the end of this course, you will never have a problem again. Period. Hard to believe, right? That's what I thought too, but experiencing is believing. Yes or yes? All right, so why don't we go to part 2 of the program? The secrets to creating anything you want in your life. Are you ready? Here we go. First, you'll learn an amazingly simple 5-step template for manifesting whatever you want in your life. All you have to do here is fill in the blanks, and it guides you every step of the way. I told you I'll still be teaching you here, so let me give you a hint as to what this step is all about, okay? Clarity. What's the word? Clarity. It's almost impossible to create what you want when you are not clear on exactly what you want. You know, many of you have heard me teach this, that the number one reason most people don't get what they want is because why? They don't know what they want. My friends, lack of clarity is a huge problem for most people, and they don't even realize that is their problem. In the course, you're going to learn how to overcome this issue, and the results will astound you. Good or good. Next, you'll learn why attachment, what's the word? Attachment to getting what you want usually leads to disaster, mentally, emotionally, and even physically. In the program, you'll learn how to let go of attachment, and more importantly, what to replace it with so you can not only get what you want, but get it faster and easier. Good or good. Next, everyone wants good things to come into their lives, yes or yes? Did you know that most people actually repel those things? They repel success. They repel money. They repel love. They repel even their health. It's sad, but many of us do this all day long and then wonder why we don't have the life we want. No need to wonder. In the course, you will learn how you may actually be repelling what you want. And once you recognize what you're doing and how you're doing it, it's kind of like burning your hand on a stove. It hurts. You just won't do it again. Good or good. Next, as I said, there's strategies, techniques, and rules and laws to all of this. One of them is something you may or may not have ever heard of, and it's important though. It's called the law of entrainment. It's a foundational law of the universe, yet, like I said, hardly anybody knows about it. It's too bad because it's actually the key to manifestation. And in the course, you will learn how to use this powerful principle to bring what you want and who you want into your life. Good or good. Okay, next. Most of us continue to hold on to people, activities, habits, and things that are just not serving us anymore. Regardless of why, that is a much bigger problem than you might think. My friends, please listen closely. This is an important lesson. Holding on to the old is what prevents you from getting the new. Let me say that again. Holding on to the old is what prevents you from getting the new. In this course, you'll be doing a life-changing exercise that will totally free you up and make space for what you really want in your life today. When? Today. When? Today. And that may be very different than a month ago, a year ago, or 10 years ago. Good or good. Next, how many of you might agree that having good relationships is not only important for happiness, but a big part of what you want in your life? Yet getting along with others isn't always easy, is it? Especially those closest to you, true or true. And one reason is that we don't fully understand these people. In this course, you're going to learn, I'm getting excited talking about this, you're going to learn a simple 9-word rule. How many words? 9. 9-word rule that will allow you, listen to what I'm saying here, to tell more about a person in 10 seconds than their family and friends might know about them in 20 or 30 years. And that goes for yourself as well. And by the way, this section blows everyone's mind, good or good. Next, let's talk about something called luck. According to the dictionary, listen closely, the definition of luck is success or failure apparently brought by chance rather than through one's own actions. Okay, regardless of the definition, we'd all like to have luck, true or true. In fact, there's a very popular saying out there that says, it's better to be lucky than good. And you know what? A lot of times it is. My friends, we don't like to admit it because we want to believe that we're in full control of the whole universe and ourselves and everything. But I tell you, you look around, luck can make you or break you. It can make or break your entire life. And one of the most amazing concepts that channeled through me was how luck actually works in the real world. I know it sounds totally crazy, but in the Mastering Happiness, Mastering Life program, you're going to learn how to become lucky. You're going to learn how to become a lucky person. And it's going to radically change your life. Good or good. All right. Earlier, we talked about other people. Attracting the right people can make your life amazing in terms of love and friendship and success. True and true. But attracting the wrong people can literally wreck your life. True or true. In this course, you're going to learn the secret to bringing the right people into your life. This process has been a true blessing for me, and my guess is going to be a true blessing for you because it's important, good or good. All right, next, you're going to like this one. In 1969, you know what happened other than Woodstock? Right, the US sent a manned spacecraft to the moon. Did you know that spacecraft was actually off course? I repeat, off course, off course, off course. 97% of the time? And yet, it got to its destination using a principle of success called CAC. CAC. In the training, you will learn how to use this powerful principle. And again, I suspect you'll use it every day of your life. I sure do. My son and daughter do. My daughter-in-law does. Michelle, my sweetheart, does. And you know what? We remind each other to use it all the time. Good or good. Last but definitely not least, for sure. Here's a question. Do you believe in miracles? Either way, would you love to have miracles happen for you? My friends, based on the download that came through me that day, I can tell you that miracles are real. But right now, there is a good chance you are blocking them from happening to you. In this program, you will learn the one thing you have to stop doing and the one thing you have to start doing to constantly create miracles in your life. It's kind of funny because when we taught this program live, we had all these t-shirts going, and after this section, our most popular t-shirt was one that said, "Expect miracles." And you know what? After this course, you will. Good or good. Bottom line, as a result of the Mastering Happiness, Mastering Life program, you'll end up with less of certain things and more of other things. Let's begin with less. Are you ready? You'll have a lot less fear and worry. You'll have a lot less anxiety and feel a lot less stressed. You'll feel a lot less irritable and angry. You'll feel a lot less overwhelmed and frustrated. You'll have a lot less confusion and indecisiveness. You'll be a lot less reactive. Things won't trigger you like they used to. You'll be a lot less upset when things don't go your way. And things that bothered you before won't bother you at all. And what other people see as a problem, you will see as no problem. Good or good or good. Thank you. So now let's talk about the more side. Straight to the point. You'll be a lot happier, good or good. And when you disconnect from your happiness, you'll be able to return to it quickly. You'll feel lighter and a lot freer. You'll be more easygoing and have more fun. You'll smile and laugh more. You'll feel much more peaceful. You'll be more patient. You'll be more kind and loving. You'll understand other people better, and you'll understand yourself a lot better. Maybe for the first time, you will truly love yourself and be your own best friend and treat yourself that way, good or good. All your relationships will be a lot better. People will want to be around you more. You'll feel more connected to spirit. Why? Because you will be more connected to spirit. You'll be more aligned with the universe and allow it to work for you instead of against you. You'll be more in tune with your intuition and use it to make faster and better decisions, good or good. You'll trust yourself more. You'll become lucky. Miracles will occur for you. Bottom line, you will be able to turn any of your dreams into reality, good or good. I told you this is a truly life-changing course, yes or yes. As I said, this knowledge completely changed my life, but it has also changed the lives of thousands and thousands of other people from all around the world. I just wish you could hear what they all had to say, but obviously we don't have time for that. But here's just a few quickies, get a couple of feel for it. Harv, you never claimed to be a guru, but you are one to me. I've spent over 40 years meditating, chanting, visualizing, doing spiritual retreats, and taking every law of attraction course that ever existed. All I can say is, thank you. I got more real world knowledge in this program than the 40 years all combined. I'm using it, and OMG, it actually works. Bless you. Good or good. Harv, the most important thing I got from this course is that I no longer live in my fear-based reactive mode. That would be a good thing, right? It's amazing for me to watch myself stay calm and centered and when someone or something is pushing my buttons. I used to get triggered in a nanosecond, but now I use the techniques and literally nothing bothers me. I am a completely different person living a completely different life. And best of all, it's positively affecting everyone around me, especially my husband and my kids. By the way, they now love you too. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good or good? This is a great one. This course was the most powerful learning experience I've ever had. And I've taken everything from everyone, the best of the best seminars all over the world. And no other program comes close to this in terms of fulfilling its promise to the letter. I'm manifesting literally everything I choose and doing it with ease instead of stress. I'm now achieving incredible success, and more importantly, I'm truly, truly happy. Is that good? All right, we have one more here. Taking this program was the most amazing, enlightening experience of my life. This course should be mandatory for every adult and every child on the planet. It would change the entire world. I know for sure it changed mine. With deep appreciation. My friends, I literally have thousands, I'm not exaggerating, thousands of amazing comments from people. And after you take the program, I want to hear your comments, both right after you take the course, but also 6 months to a year later afterwards, okay? Later, once you've had a chance to experience your life before and after the course and seen and felt the difference for yourself. Those letters, the future letters of the ones that come 6 months, a year, 2 years later, I gotta tell you, those are the ones that are most important to me. So please, will you do that for me? Thank you. Okay, let's talk about the format because that's important. When I delivered this course live, it was 4.5 days long. We've put all the data into this online training so you can get all the knowledge, all the principles, all the strategies, and all the techniques that the 4.5 day live event has. Good or good? The course is broken up into modules and delivered to you each week. This way, you can practice. What's the word? Practice and integrate the lessons from each session into your life before moving on to the next one. Does that make sense to you? Okay, where's the location? As I said, this program is online now, so you don't have to leave your home or worry about travel, which will save you a fortune in both time and money. Good or good? Also, you could download the lessons on your mobile device and listen from anywhere you choose. Okay. So what's the tuition for a program like this? Well, let me ask you, what's a lifetime of happiness worth to you? $100? $1,000? $1 million? Probably more if you had it, yes or yes. And what's the ability to manifest anything you want worth to you? $100? More? How about it's worth more than any amount of money? Because if you could truly manifest what you want, you could manifest any amount of money that you want. True or true? So you get the drift here. This program is going to make your life better by 100-fold. But alas, we have to put a dollar amount on it, so we will. When the course is taught live, the tuition is $4,000 plus food and lodging on top of that. But because it's online, not only do you save time and money, so do we, because we don't have the heavy production costs associated with the live event. Does that make sense to you? So the standard tuition for the online course, instead of $4,000, is only $1,495. And again, that's for the same information recorded from the very same stage with me teaching it. Good or good? I hope you said good. My friends, as I mentioned before, I truly believe I had this download, this channeling type of experience because I was already a teacher with tens of thousands of students. And so my job was to pass this rare knowledge along to others. And I take that mission very, very seriously. And that's why it is personally important to me that you take this course. And so I'm going to do whatever I can do to help make certain that you get it. There is one challenge though. Even though I am semi-retired and I don't personally teach the course live anymore, it's still offered live in Europe and in Asia. And so to make sure we don't take away too many students from the live event, we have to limit the number of people who enroll into the online course to the first 20 who register per web class. Again, that's the first 20 who register now. Again, because it's so important to me personally that you have this blessing in your life, I'm going to do something absolutely extraordinary to help you. Please listen closely because you might not believe this when you first hear it. Are you ready? Instead of the tuition being $4,000 like the live event, or even $1,495 like the online course, I will reduce the tuition by $1,200 as my gift to you and give you the entire Mastering Happiness, Mastering Life program for only $295. That's right, $295. To register for this program, just click the Register Now button and it's yours. Listen, I know this tuition sounds too good to be true, But when you hear me read through what was given to me, what was channeled to me, you'll understand why I have to get this into as many people's hands and minds as possible. I promise you, this course is everything I've said and more. And to make certain that I keep my promise, I'm going to give you a full 30-day money-back guarantee. Take the entire program, learn all the lessons, practice all the strategies, watch your happiness soar. Begin to see your dreams starting to work their way into reality and maybe even experience a miracle or two. And if you don't think this program is making a massive, and I mean massive difference in your life, just let us know and we'll return your entire full tuition. I have set this up so there is not a thing you can lose, and you can only win by trying this out for yourself, yes or yes. Of course, the reason I'm able to offer this kind of guarantee is because I know what this course does for people and what it will do for you. In fact, I can't even recall one person ever, not one person, asking for 1 cent back, even live when it's $4,000, good or good. My friends, life does not have to be a struggle. Let me repeat that. Life does not have to be a struggle. It can be easy and flowing and peaceful and joyful if you have the knowledge and understanding as to how to live that way. And with this program, you most definitely will. That's why I created it. I know for some of you it may not seem like it, but let me say this point blank. You can be happy, really happy. And you can have the life and the lifestyle of your dreams. Yes, you, I'm speaking with you. My friends, our society is broken. As I said earlier, we unintentionally teach our young ones not how to be happy, but how to be unhappy. Why? Because we don't know any better ourselves. And it's so prevalent that it seems normal. But again, it doesn't have to be this way. There is another way to live. And if enough of us learn to live this way, maybe, hopefully, someday, this new way, this higher conscious way, this more enlightened way will become the new way for all. Let's hope so, for ourselves and for our children and for generations to come. So I invite you to give yourself, and indirectly, the people around you and the people you care about, this gift. Just click the link to register so you can get started as soon as possible. And don't wait. Don't let your mind use the, I'll think about it, or any other excuse. Remember who is saying that. It's the voice of fear. One of my favorite quotes comes from Einstein. They said, you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. So I'd urge you to start your training now. Take charge of your fear-based mind. Say thank you for sharing. Do something different. Register for this program and start up-leveling your life. I promise your true self will thank you. And for those of you who are still unsure of what to do, ask your heart. That's always a good idea. Allow your decision to come from growth and expansion of your life instead of fear and contraction. My friends, I believe there's no accidents in the universe. And if you stayed with me this long, you are meant to take this course. Regardless of whatever you do, however, I certainly hope you learned a lot in this class. It has been a total honor and privilege to serve you, and I thank you so much for listening. Goodbye for now, and I look forward to us being together again in the Mastering Happiness, Mastering Life program. Blessings to you all.